Only problem I have with this that I have to like complex or the that's all I have. Here's a problem here. I used to know how to calibrate these. So let me see if I can do this. Okay. Maybe this will work after all. So we're going to look at, I think that's parenteral. I can't ever say it. It means injections. I always call it injections. So we're going to look at our injectable solutions, calculating our injectable dosages. And we're going to use dimensional analysis to do it. I was hoping I had multicolor pens, but evidently they're all going to be black no matter which one I choose. So just like we used with the oral dosages, we did oral dosages in here, right? Show me the right class. We're going to use the X, and with the injectable dosages, it's always going to be milliliters, or 99% of the time it'll be milliliters. Sometimes it'll be units. We're still using the doctor's orders over 1. So everything's okay. Can you see the whiteboard, or for some reason it's sharing? What can y'all see in Newport?
We see the paper, chapter 11.
Okay, can you see that I'm writing on it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. If you missed something on it, let me know. Okay, so doctor's orders, and then our dosage form still, but again, 90% of the time, it's going to be milliliters, 99% of the time. And then our dosage strength. So we're still using the same process, same format. Doctor's orders over 1, the dosage form over dosage strength. So our dosage form is milligrams. And of course, we got to look at our name, which is Dilaudid, which is the same as this medication, the hydromorphone. Our dosage strength is the 2 milligrams. Our dosage form is the 2 milliliters. So once I know that they're there, I also have to look. My route is IM. We have to check and make sure that this is working for IM. IM is intramuscular. So it works for intramuscular. Okay. So with the injectables, we've got to check our medication labels to make sure that, it's not just IV use only. Okay. Because there are some that are for IV use only, and you can't give the IM. Okay. If you give an IM shot, and there's some that's IM only, and if you give the IM only, but you give it as an IV, it can cause major problems. All right, so let's calculate our dosage. And I'm going to raise my page up, hopefully raise my page up a little bit. It's not that much. Okay. Bear with me, guys. It's been like 11 years since I've done the smartboard thing. So I'm wanting it in milliliters. My ordered dose is 3 milligrams. Supply dose, my dosage form is milliliters. My dosage strength is 2 milligrams. On the oral dose, it was pretty much always 5 milliliters. With the injectables, it's generally going to be 1 milliliter. Sometimes it'll be 2, sometimes it'll be 5. So you have to watch out, but kind of pay attention. Most of the time, it would be 1 milliliter. So my milligrams cancel. I have 3 over 2 milliliters, which is the same thing as 1.5 milliliter. Now, the one thing you want to do after you've calculated the dosage with these, especially if there's a needle showing, and I had to find these syringes or pictures of them. So sometimes my syringe, it's a 5 milliliter syringe, will be the oral syringe. We're going to pretend it's not an oral syringe. We're going to pretend it's a regular syringe. I'm limited to what I have on Google. So at 1.5, and this is where, if you remember what you read in chapter 6, if I've got a 3 milliliter syringe, these are all marked in tenths, okay? So 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10. 5/10 is 1/2. And I'm going to 1 1/2. So I'm going to draw a line. And then I'm going to shade in. Because this is what's going to be filled. It doesn't have to be shaded in perfectly. But that's why it's going to work. Because you've got to know how much to draw. Okay. So question so far. I mean, it's pretty much just like what we were doing, except the syringe makes it a little bit different. Let's look at the next one. Whatever that is, whoops. This is what happens sometimes. You can hold two things at once. But it matches my injection here. I have 20 milligrams and it's IV. So I have 40 milligrams per 4 milliliters, or I can use the 10 milligrams per milliliter. And see how it says for the preparation of intravenous solutions. So this is for an IV. All right, so it works. I'm giving an IV injection. My medication is for IV. So I'm going to set it up. X milliliters. My doctor's orders, which is 20 milligrams. Now, this is where we have to decide. Do we want to use the 40 milligrams per 4 milliliters or the 10 milligrams per milliliter? Because remember, they're equivalent measurements, equivalent doses. Does it matter which one I use? No, it doesn't matter. I can use either one. Personally, I like going with the 1 milliliter. It's less math. But we can go either way. Whoa. Really hope the board will get something different. Okay. So it's 1 milliliter, 10 milligrams. I want to make sure my milligrams cancel. I'm going to cancel my 0. Then I have very little math, right? This is 2 times 1 over 1. So I have 2 milliliters. And then I'm going to go down here on my 3 milliliter syringe, draw a line at 2 milliliters. And shade. Almost too easy, isn't it? Most of them are going to be like this. Most of the calculations are going to be this easy. Look at the next one. Do my medications match? Does my medication match my label? Yeah, it does. They're both dioxin, or however you say that. What's my order? Let's go ahead. What else? Go check the IV, right? Or the IV. You've got to check the route. The route's IV. Can I give this medication as an IV?
Yes.
Because it says for slow IV or deep IM, so I can use it for the IV. Well, then we're going to look at. I'm going to let y'all set this one up. Or tell me. What's my doctor's orders? What did the doctor order? How much? How much? 0.375 milligrams. And then, notice I've got 3 here. 500 micrograms per 2 milliliters, 0.5 milligrams per 2 milliliters, or 250 micrograms per milliliter. Which one do you want to use?
Small.
Okay, one thing I'm going to, we can use any of them, but this is in milligrams. Unless we want to do a conversion, we need to choose the one that's in milligrams, right? So I need to use this 0.5 milligrams per 2 milliliters. So though, we can use any of them. So it's 2 milliliters this time on top. That one doesn't like me. And it's 0.5 milligrams on bottom. That might help some. Okay, so how many milligrams am I going to give? I have my calculator on. I have 1 decimal on bottom. I'm going to move it to the right one place. Move my decimal on the top to the right one place. So I have 3.75 milligrams canceled times 2 over 5. I don't see anything that cancels. I'm going to dig out my calculator. So I'm going to do 3.75 times 2. I get 7.5 divided by 5. And I get 1.5. Kind of hard to line that up. My pen's turning. So questions? It's hard for me to see the faces when I don't have glasses. You doing all right? So far, so good? So it's number 4. Oops, it's not 5 machine. Okay, I want you to work this. And I'll come back in a minute and work this. I feel like I'm not being heard and then my glasses are sticking up. Maybe this will help. So did y'all remember to do the conversion? Because we're going from microgram to milligram. Cancel 2 zeros on the bottom because I have 2 zeros on top. Leaves me with 1 over 0.2 times 10. 1 over 2 or 0.5 milliliters. Injections are always written in decimals. Tablets can be written in fraction form, and injectables are always written as decimals. So it's 0.5. I'm going to go 5 over, so I'm going to go to the 1/2, right? Or am I going to go to the 1 and 1/2?
1/2.
Just the 1/2.
Miss Young,
Yes, ma'am.
I know you asked if we had any questions on number 3 a second ago, but I do.
Okay, well, let me go back to number 3.
Okay.
What you saying, injections always written in decimals and what?
Tablets can be written in fractions. Like if you have 1 and 1/2 tablet, you can write it as a fraction. Okay, what's your question on number 3?
What? Well, the decimal.
Okay.
That's not the shit. Why couldn't you just do 0.375 and cross multiply?
Well, you're not going to cross multiply, you just multiply straight across.
Mhm.
My hand pointing. You could do that. I just don't like putting that many decimals in my calculator. Because I
Okay.
always seem to make a mistake. But you can do that. It's fine. You can do the 0.375 times 2, then divide it by 0.5. And you should still get the 1.5.
Well, I got 3. Maybe I'm.
Okay, there's my calculator. All right, so if I put it in my calculator, it's 0.375 times 2 divided by 0.5. I still get 1.5. You can see my calculator.
So you don't worry about the 1 the 1 and the 0.5. You don't have to multiply those.
But you can, but 1 times 0.5 is still 0.5.
I made a mistake. I put 0.25. That's why.
Okay. Hey, it
Okay,
happens.
that's why. Sorry.
Oh, no, at least you found your mistake. So that's the main thing. Okay. So, whoops, back up here.
There we go.
I want to center it. One of the issues I have with smart boards. All right, so was there any questions on number 4? I like that I can move the page and the writing goes with it. And I'm not erasing constantly. All right. Okay. So number 5 is Ativan. I'm giving Ativan. It's 4 milligrams IV stat. That means that you're going to give it quickly, right? As soon as possible. Can I give it? Can I give this bottle from this bottle of Ativan? From this vial? As it says, for IM use or for IV route. This is for IV route C directions, but I can use it for IV because it's on there. Okay, so how much are we going to give?
Milligrams a milliliter.
How many? That's the doctor's orders, but how many milliliters are we going to give? When I say how much we're going to give, I'm always looking for milliliters or the number of tablets or capsules. 2 milliliters?
2.
That's what I say, quick, try to do it in your head. Work it out. Too many people want to do it in their head. And that's, I mean, that's good. You need to do eventually. But when you're doing it in your head right now, sometimes you're guessing. So 4 divided by 2 is 2 milliliters. Can I give it in the syringe that I've got? Yeah, because it shows up to 2. Questions? Y'all have got this, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So this, because this is so similar to the oral dosages. I don't think I want to do all of them for you. We've done one similar to that one already. Oh, my computer did forget. We've done one similar to 7. We did one similar to 6. We did one exactly like, oh, the order's different. I have a different syringe. Number 8. Because it's got a different syringe on it too. So first thing, you're looking to IM. It has for IM. And y'all can finish. I'll watch my call. So go to 6.2 or 0.625 milliliters. You could have done the 125 divided by the 200 in your calculators. I was just hoping that once I reduced it, I didn't have to have a calculator. I could do it in my head. I can't do 5/8 in my head. But can we, here's my question though, when I get to this one. Can we put 0.625 in a 1 milliliter syringe? It's less than 1 milliliter, right? So we can.
Right.
But we'd have to round it. Because we go to 0.6, there's 0.61, 62, 63. There's no real place for 625, right? So we have to round it to the hundredths place. That means I'm going to look at the 5. And the reason I'm rounding it, one of the reasons I'm rounding to the hundredths, is each one of those little marks, the little calibration marks, are hundredths. Okay, a milliliter syringe is marked in hundred or calibrated in hundredths. So 0.6 what? 62 or 63? 3. So then I go over here, and of course y'all have a finer point pen. A pencil. You're going to draw your line and shape it. Now, when you're pulling the liquid out, and I'll try to bring some. When you're pulling your liquid out, getting it to that 0.63 line is easier than it is drawing the marks. Okay. Do I need you to erase something? Erase my scribbling so y'all can see a little bit better. All right, so questions on number 8. Are we good? Okay. Let's see what else I got over here. Sometimes we have high alert medications. These are the heparin, the insulin. There's another one. The heparin is a blood thinner. I don't know if you take it as a tablet or not, but it's also what they use when you have IVs. Depending on the type of IV you have, they'll do a heparin flush in your IV lock, especially if the patient, or if they think that the blood is backed up in the IV and they think it's clotted, they'll do a heparin lock flush. So when you're giving a heparin, and you've got a patient on your floor that takes heparin by an IV, or by an injection. If they've got an IV in, you'll have both of these in your drawer. Okay, you'll have the heparin lock flush, and you'll have the actual heparin solution. So you have to be careful about which one you're giving, because you don't want to give the heparin flush if it's actually supposed to be giving the medication. Okay, but it works the same way that the others do. Come on. So it says we're giving the 5,000 units, and heparin is prescribed in units, subcutaneous 2 hours prior to surgery. So this one is for subcutaneous or intravenous use, so we can give it. Subcutaneous is just, right under the skin. I have 50,000 per 10 milliliters, or I have 5,000 per milliliter. I'm going to use the 5,000 per milliliter. The smaller my numbers, the better I am. Do I need to worry about this 2 hours prior to surgery when I'm calculating the dose? No. Oh, it's just an added number we don't need right now. So I'm looking for milliliters. It's 5,000 units. You have to write out the word units. There's no abbreviation for it. So unit or units. That's my doctor's order. And then my supply, or my form, is milliliters. I'm using the smaller one, so it's 1 milliliter over 5,000 units. So that one's easy. How many milliliters am I giving? How many? 1. So I thought I heard her say it, and then real quiet. 1. Y'all have confidence. When I ask you a question, be confident about it. Okay? Because you know this material. Don't overthink it, because you know it. This is too easy not to know, right? I have to work at it a little bit to remember it. Okay. So questions? So I can give it in a 3 milliliter syringe, right?
Yes.
Technically, I could give it in a 1 milliliter syringe because it's 1 milliliter. The book recommends, and I'm sure they recommend the same thing on the floor, that anything over 75 hundredths of a milliliter, you don't give in a 1 milliliter syringe. You give in a 3 milliliter syringe. That way your syringe isn't all the way spread out. So I would just mark this at 1 milliliter, show you all this, and I would be good to go. I think this is my weird question. Okay. It is. So I'm going to flush a PICC line with 3 milliliters of a heparin locked flush, and I have 10 units per milliliter. This is 100 units per milliliter. Okay. So I've got to see how much I need to pull, because I'm not going to pull 3 milliliters, am I? Not with it being 100 units per milliliter. So do I need to use the 3 milliliter or the 10 units per milliliter? Okay.
10 minutes.
Now this is my weird one. Because I can't use that. Because I've got to give 3 milliliters of the 10 units, but I've got 100 units. So what am I going to do? Because I can't convert this one to make it 10 units per milliliter. There's only 1 milliliter in the vial. Give me your wild guess. What do you think you need to do? What would be common sense? Okay. Don't give it. Go back to your cart and see if you can find a 10 milliliter or 10 unit one, right? If you can't find a 10 unit in your cart, contact the pharmacy. Tell them you need a 10 unit. So you have this one. I knew this was my weird question. And then I still tried to do it. We're not going to do. We're going to contact the pharmacy. And in this case, we would contact the pharmacy instead of the physician because we have the wrong unit. We had the right medication, or we had the right type of medication, but the pharmacy sent up the wrong amount of units. Most of the time, it's contact the physician or contact the person that wrote the medication or wrote the order. But in this case, I'm going to contact the pharmacy and see if they have a 10 units per milliliter. Okay. So this one says heparin 8,000 units IV bolus ASAP. That means we're giving the 8,000 units at one time. And it's prior to initiation of a continuous heparin infusion. So we're going to give the 8,000 units, and then we're going to give, later on, we're going to start the IV infusion. We'll talk more about the IV bolus and the infusion later on. So we're going to ask right now, is how many units will I give, or how many milliliters will I give to give this 8,000 units? Okay, so if I'm asking, how much will you give? I'm asking for the initial dose, the 8,000 units. We're not worried about the infusion. So, what am I going to put first? 8,000 units. Y'all are getting older. More confidence here. 8,000 units over 1. And then times, what am I going to put there?
1,000, well, the 1 milliliter over 1,000.
1 milliliter over 1,000 units. So my units will cancel. My zeros will cancel, right? So how many units am I going to get? Or how many, I keep on saying units. How many milliliters am I going to get? 8. Now, I couldn't give the 8 milliliters in a 3 milliliter syringe, could I? And when it's an IV, we can use the 10 milliliter syringes. Okay? So, my pen doesn't want to line up. Pretend that's on 8, like it's supposed to be. How do y'all stay in the mask all day? Y'all go outside every chance you get?
I take mine off every chance I get.
I do too. I go back to the office and take mine off. All right. Let's go back here. I want number 4. What's he doing? Okay. The patient number 3 received a bolus, which will now be followed by continuous infusion. Frequently, IV solutions with heparin additive come pre-mixed or prepared by the hospital pharmacy. But there may be situations where a nurse will need to mix the IV solution for continuous infusion. And if you have to mix it, and we're going to get into that in chapter 12, the directions will either be on the label, directions for mixing, or it will be on the medication insert, or it may be in a book that I can't think of the name of it right now. But it's a medication guide, prescription guide, and it'll tell you how to mix it. So we're going to pretend that this one came from the pharmacy already mixed. So the order, and this is going to be one of those strange orders because it's an IV, and we got more numbers in here that we need, or that we need to calculate, use to calculate. So we're giving D5W, which is an IV solution, 500 milliliters. That means I have an IV bag that's 500 milliliters of dextrose with water, 5 grams of dextrose in water, with heparin, 25,000 units. So you're going to have the heparin already in the bag. And we're using it at a rate of 1,000 units per hour. Maybe we are having to mix this. All right. So what I'm wanting to know, because yeah, we're having to add it to the bag. Excuse me. There's no heparin one. We're having to add the heparin to the bag. You've got the 500 milliliter of IV solution. So here's our 500 milliliters of IV solution. We're going to have to add, this is our heparin, to the bag, which means that, there's a port on there that we can inject that heparin into the bag and mix it up, basically diluting the heparin. But how much heparin do we need to put in the bag for this 25,000 units? Okay. All I need to calculate that is the 25,000 units and the 5,000 units per milliliter. Okay. But you know how many units I'm adding to my IV bag. So the doctor has ordered the 25,000 units. Sometimes I get so tired writing more units. The pharmacy has sent up 1 milliliter for 5,000 units. So my units cancel. I can cancel my zeros. And now I have 25 divided by 5, right? So how many milliliters am I going to add? 5. Can I give it in that syringe?
No.
No. I'm going to have to chase down either probably a 10 milliliter syringe is what I would use. All right, so questions? So we've done 1/5. Y'all could do that one, right? Because I'm looking for just the bolus amount. Done one. Done one like that. We have it done in. An insulin label is different than any of the other labels that were given, okay? It has all the same content, it's just kind of looked at a little different, and it's got different content. So we've got our manufacturer, this is from Eli Lilly. We've got the total volume, which is 10 milliliters. Our trade name is Humulin N. N is the type. You got Humulin H, you got Humulin N. One of them is a synthetic, one of them is a human insulin, one of them is a pig-based insulin. My grandmother used to take the pig-based insulin. Sounds gross now, but it worked. The human insulin is your origin or your species. The human, this means that it's from humans. The rDNA origin, all this is your origin and species, okay? It's isophane suspension. The isophane tells you how long lasting it is. Some of them are immediate acting, some of them are intermediate acting, which means they act a little bit, they take longer, and then you've got your long lasting. Okay? There's 3 types. Your concentration, U100 is the same thing as 100 units per milliliter. We can calculate insulin in milliliter form, but we're not going to, because again, 99.9% of the time, you're going to have insulin syringes to use. If I've got insulin syringes, or syringes made specifically for insulin, and insulin's ordered in units, the insulin syringes are calculated in units. There's no need to calculate it as milliliters. So it's got your storage directions, it's got your expiration date, it's got your lot number, it has your NCD number or NDC number, so still got all your things. So we want to make sure, to always make sure it's a U100, because very rarely does a doctor order a U500. There's 2 different types. There's a U100 and a U500. The U500 is 500 units per milliliter. And from my understanding, that is given to somebody that has a very high insulin tolerance, very high insulin level. We had a friend that when he entered the hospital, of course he was almost comatose, he had a glucose or an insulin number, whatever, not insulin, his sugar number, whatever you want to call that, was 900. Normal is under 100. Okay, I think they gave him the 500 units because they wanted to bring it down quickly. But every other time, if you're giving it in home health, if you're giving it in the nursing home, if you're giving it on the floor, it'll be U100. So that's the thing we need to look for. These are insulin syringes. We have the 100 units, means that it will hold 100 units of insulin. It is, each small black line is 2 units, so it's calibrated with even numbers. I can't give 53 units in that 100 units, because I can't give an odd number of units. I have a 50 unit syringe. Each line is 1 unit. So I could give, I can't give 53 because it's more than 50. But I can give 43 in that one, or 23, or 13. And then we have our 30 unit syringe. And again, each line is 1 unit. And it's got a special name, I can't think what it is. The 30 unit means it only holds 30. Now, these are so easy. Probably don't think I'm lying to you. All right, you have to check your labels. That's the hardest part of this one. I've got Novolog 70/30, which means it's a mix. It's got a 70 units of the longer acting and 30 units of the shorter acting. It's a 100 units per milliliter, so it's a U100. Make sure your syringes are U100. It'll say on the package that it's U100. So my label matches. It says administer 32 units subcutaneous, and insulin's usually given subcutaneous. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to mark 32 units. There's no math involved for most of these, okay? Because if it's a combination, it's already, the math has already been done. You're just going to draw 32 units. So how many other units the doctor's ordered, that's what you're going to pull, okay? So again, all you're checking is your name. Humalog, U100. I have Humalog, 100 units per milliliter. So that's a U100. You have 12 units. So am I going to do any math?
No.
Oh, I'm just going to draw 12 units. And again, I probably want to use a 30 unit syringe. Because 12 units and a 50, it's going to be a smaller amount. This next one, we're going to actually do a little math on. Okay, the doctor's ordering 2 units, 2 different types. He's ordering Novolog U100 insulin, 12 units, with Novolin N NPH with 40 units. All right, so one's a longer acting, one's a shorter acting. And I don't know, this is nursing, that you're going to pull one of them before you pull the other one. And they said cloudy before clear, so one of them's cloudy, one of them's clear. That part you'll get in the nursing program. But how many total units am I going to need? So what I'm looking for here is how many total units am I going to put in this syringe? 12 plus 40, right? 52 units. And then I'm going to mark my syringe. Okay, simple. Very simple. How many units am I going to give on number 4? 66. I just draw a line at 66, right? Insulin is that easy to calculate. So you get it. All right. So that's it. Any questions on any of that?
I had actually had a, where I had to switch it because they sent in wrong syringes.
So you actually had to calculate it to milliliters?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before I even done this, it's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, you would do it the same way. If you had to calculate it to milliliters, you would take the number of units, that would be the number of units the doctor's ordered. And in this case, because it's 2 different ones, let me go back up to this other one. Let's do the 66 units. If I had to calculate this in milliliters, I would still do the 66 units over 1. And then since it's a 100 unit or a U100, it's 100 units per milliliter. So I would do 1 milliliter. It's not 600. 100 units. Units cancel. So I have 66 over 100, which would give me 0.66 milliliters. Of course, this is units, but I can still do that, right? Milliliters, so I give it the 1 milliliter syringe.
Yeah, you wouldn't use that.
No, I wouldn't use that. That's a, well, this one I would use with the 66, but you're going to use a 1 milliliter syringe. Now, as far as my questions on Candace and on the test, I will never ask you how many milliliters for insulin. Okay, I just wanted to show you that it can be done. It will always be, you're always going to fill an insulin syringe. And if I happen to mistake and give you a 1 milliliter syringe, then you're going to have to say, we would need a 30 unit syringe or a 50 unit syringe or something like that. Okay. All right. Any questions? Today is Tuesday, right? Thursday, we will do some reconstitution. And this is where I normally, because I want you guys to do this hands-on. So, and I do it with Kool-Aid. Oh, and I don't know how I'm going to do it with my mark tree curve. I'll figure something out. Maybe Miss Wilson can help me with that. But we're going to play with Kool-Aid, which is colored water. And we're going to mix not concoctions. We're going to dilute. Thank you. We're going to dilute some powder. So don't wear anything that you care to get Kool-Aid stains on, because it never fails. There's always a Kool-Aid stain or two somewhere. Usually it's on me. So my hands are usually either purple or red. But anyway, all right, I will see you guys Thursday. Y'all have a good week. If you haven't signed the sign-in sheet, sign the sign-in sheet, please. Brianna, I will probably have to figure out how to get that. You may just have to watch. I'll figure out how to get it.